Hello friends, it's Lisa and I'm back today with the final ink pad comparison where we're doing the ink smooshing. So, I'm sorry I've been a little incognito. It's been a little crazy with all the vacation and crazy work, but we're back and I'm going to show you how to do this. So, first I wanted to show, last time I forgot, to do these little people fairy die cuts. I just got these Craft Mate, I want to say, tiny little daubers at Michael's, and they were $5 for a set of 6, and I just used them. So for the girl, I got the browns out and did one shade with the light or the medium. I think this was the medium. And then I took the darker shade and added some shadows in. So to clean it off, because I only had 5 or 6 of these little things, I wasn't sure if I really liked them or not, but I actually do. You get some color in some really nice places. They have the little finger daubers, but I think that I like the little stick daubers better. So I'm going to probably buy some, but I want to buy them in bulk and for cheap, because $1 a piece for those things is a little expensive in my personal opinion. So, although I do know that there are a lot of companies that have these kind of things, so when I get some, I'll let you know. Then I took the purple and added her little dress in, finished her up. It was quick and easy. But what we're really here for, the ink smooshing. So, first we're going to start out with the new Harmony ink pads. And I'm using the Tim Holtz glass media mat for this. You can barely see that top left-hand blue that I put down, but I actually put down quite a bit. I'm sitting on the side as I do this so I can see that there's actually ink there. One thing you'll see that I do is I push down hard on the paper to get the ink. You'll see on some of the examples that I actually get this weird line, these weird lines. That's not from the ink pad. It's not from the type of ink. It's from me doing this right here, taking my bone folder and actually pressing it down. And this paper, which is the Bristol Smooth mixed media paper, the Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper, it doesn't like scratches and pressure, so it reacts kind of strangely. If I did this again, I'd use just regular watercolor paper. This Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper is good for a lot of different things, but the ink smooshing, not so much. So when you're watching this, just know that that's the case. I heat set in between each layer. I didn't think you wanted to see that, but I did about 3 layers there to get this nice, pretty different colors that you can see there. But it wasn't quite smooth enough, which is something you typically don't expect ink smooshing to be is perfect, right? It's just the nature of the beast. It's not going to be perfect. But I wanted it a little bit more cohesive, so I just ink blended on the top with some of the lighter blue that I used. Next, I'm going to take a little bit of the darker blue and ink blend on top. You'll see that I'll do that same thing with the other 2 dye-based ink pads. The Distress Oxide, I didn't really need to do that just because that ink is a very smooth ink. So, here we go. You can see it looks a lot more cohesive because I wanted it to be in the background and not the focal point. I'm going to take some water, spritz it on, and let it sit there for about 30 seconds. It won't take 30 seconds for you because I have the film sped up, because I tend to take a long time. I'm not a speed demon. But see, here is a really good shot where you can see those lines. I didn't really notice them until I was looking back at the footage, but you can definitely see where I pressed down with my little scoring tool. So just something to note, don't do that. I personally do like to let the paper sit in the ink for a minute when I'm doing the actual ink smooshing. I'll put the ink down, I'll put the paper on and press it down with my hand and let it sit there for a few seconds, because when I pull it back, I want to have a lot of the ink be pulled up with it. So here you can see how cute that is with some of the die cuts. I hadn't cut out the watercolored stuff that I'd done, so you get a little bit of that. But I wanted to show you how cute it looked. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do the distress ink. So you'll see here I'm doing that same thing that I just told you not to do because I didn't realize it at the time. So if you see those streaky things, don't worry. It's not the ink pad. It's just me being crazy. But learn from my mistakes and don't do that. So you can see here I'm actually letting it sit for quite a bit of time. But when I pull back, you can see how much color has soaked up into the paper. So next I'm going to spritz some water on just the leftover ink that's still on my glass media mat, because I am not stingy when I put the ink on there. I am a colorful person. I like a lot of color. So you'll see here, this one, actually I got a little bit more coverage, which is a little bit strange and not exactly what I would have thought, because the Harmony ink pads are so much juicier and so easy to blend with. I would say more easy to blend with than the Distress ink. Not as easy as the Distress Oxide, but perhaps it's the color isn't as strong when I water it down as the Distress is. So just something to note. Now here you can see I've added some of the archival ink, and I'm going to spritz some water on here. But since it's oil-based, it doesn't do a whole lot. You'll see here, I'm going to pull it up and it looks like nothing has happened. So that's okay. I actually kind of like the texture. It's a kind of cool texture, but it's not gonna give me the full background that I want. So I put a little bit of the glycerin down on my mat, blended that into my foam, and now I'm grabbing some of the ink. And I'm gonna blend a lot onto this paper. It took a while because blending with these inks isn't quite, it's by far the least blendable ink. Next, I'm taking the Distress Oxides, and I'm going to show you quite a bit of this because I felt like the Distress Oxides are the easiest to use ink pad when you're doing this technique, but they do give a very distinctive look. So I don't think it's a one or the other type of thing. It's what look are you going for. The Distress Oxide pads are going to give you a very painterly look because they are pigment based, as opposed to the dye ink that's going to give you more depth and dimension because it is layering the color, as opposed to the Distress Oxide, which is pretty opaque, so it covers up the previous color. Here you can see me pushing it in, and I pull it and grab some additional color. But I'm not saying one or the other, that the Distress Oxide or the dye ink in either the Distress ink or the Harmony inks are better or worse. Just two different techniques. I'm going to actually keep this book that I'm creating, which stay tuned, the next video is me actually putting that whole book together. You'll see the whole process. I just won't show you how I watercolored or blended or did this ink smooshing, just that I did it. So that's coming up. I have some really cool videos coming up, so subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thank you so much for coming. I hope this was helpful. If you're thinking about getting the Harmony ink pads and you have the Distress already, you can kind of see a good comparison of the two. If you haven't checked out the other two videos that I've done before this on watercoloring, or what's that other thing called? Blending with these two ink pads, go ahead and check those out, because those will help you in deciding kind of if the Harmony ink pads are worth it or not. I personally really like them. But here you go. Here's some pictures of what I created, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.